expensive one, so I'm more so on a budget. So I like getting a lot of stuff from, a lot of my supplies come from Target or from Ulta, the side that has more of the drugstore brands. I have brushes. These ones are examples of brushes to use for foundations.
Wow.
So they're a little bit bigger than the other brushes I use because it's a bigger area that you're going to be covering with it. This one is really fluffy. It feels very soft and nice. It's really good for like if you're using a powder versus these ones, they're less fluffy, they're kind of dense. And this is good for if you're using like a liquid. And then we have our brushes like these guys. These ones are for the face also, but they are for more focus areas. So similar to the powder one, because all of these are used for powder, they're very fluffy, very soft, have a lot of mobility to them. And they're used for like blushes, or I'm gonna show you a bronzer today, which is very similar to a brush. A lot of the products are kind of similar, and I like using products that double as something else. That way it's condensing how much you have to have with you and how much you have to use. And then similarly, this last round of brushes are just smaller ones. These ones are specific to the eye. Again, like these ones, since they're bigger for a bigger area, these are smaller for the smaller area on your face. Cool. The biggest thing about makeup application is the prep, like how you prepare your skin for the makeup to go on. You always want to make sure you're starting with a clean face and that you have a moisturizer, some kind of lotion or sunscreen on, so it has a nice surface to sit on. I will show this example. So this is a face primer from e.l.f. So I'll just put it on my hands like you would do. You would apply it on your face if you would do any kind of lotion. And then I'll show you the difference of what it looks like with versus without the primer. So this is just a regular foundation. Any foundation would have a very similar effect. So that's the way it spreads onto my hand without the primer versus with the primer. The same amount goes such a long way because the primer is letting the skin kind of be more prepared for the makeup to sit on top of. So it looks smoother, it lasts longer, and it just applies a lot easier. Should have brought a tissue, I'm so sorry.
There.
Is there a tissue? But I'm using this brush here. Again, it's one of those denser ones that are good for the liquid foundations. So I'm here so I can see myself. And I like to dot around first. And then when I wipe off the excess product here and I just blend out what's on my face. So it's really just going in like swirly motions like this. Nothing too fancy or too detailed. It's going all over. Don't want to worry too much about being really precise. Just make sure I'm getting all the areas. And I'm avoiding my eyes because the makeup that you use for your eyes versus your face is going to be a little bit different in terms of the way that it feels and the way that it sits on our skin. The skin around our eyes is a lot thinner than the skin on the rest of our face. So there are specific products that are better for that area and less damaging to the skin, because if it's too thick, it's just gonna be hard for your skin to like, not necessarily breathe under, because your skin can still breathe under it. It's more just, it's not as comfortable of a thing to wear if it's too thick around that area. So that's the foundation. And then the next step would be any kind of like concealer. This one is from a brand called Anastasia Beverly Hills. They're known a lot for their eyebrow products, which I enjoy their eyebrow products, but I don't put too much on my eyebrows. Let's keep it a lot lighter. With the concealer, you can do the same thing of putting it on your hand first. For some areas I do that, but since it comes with this little like applicator piece to it, it's a lot easier for me to just go directly on versus this MAC one, it has like a pump. So with this one, I would have to pump it on my hand first, and then I like to use my finger and dot it wherever. But it's a lot more common for concealers to have things like this. So this is how I would do it. I'll show on one side versus the other side without it. So I'm putting this in any areas where I feel like I get kind of darker throughout the day. So any dark circles, I need a lot of sleep. So if I don't get a lot of sleep, I have a lot of really visible dark circles. Luckily today, I am well rested, so it's not too much product that I'm having to put on my face. But I also put it here on the side of my nose and on the side of my mouth just to help have it brighten up those areas. I mean, everyone grows a little hair everywhere. I get, my mustache hairs get a little bit dark, so I like to use the concealer to brighten up that area, so I don't have to worry about it peeking through as much through my makeup. The other thing with the foundation, when I put it on and blended it out all at the same time, right? With this one, I put it on and I'm giving it a second to sit in place. When it sits in place, it really holds to that area and it helps it have a little bit more coverage to it. So that way, if you want a lot of coverage, you don't have to apply a lot of product, you just have to let it sit there for a little bit to kind of warm up. So now I'm using this brush. It's my favorite concealer brush. It's dense, like one of the foundation brushes that I showed, but it's very small, so it can get into those smaller, more specific areas. And